So now let's go back to what we were saying. We basically, as I said, chapter 4 is a theology of mitzvahs. And the idea of a mitzvah is that God is coming to you in the form of an activity.
What page are you on?
I'm going to start at page 92, but I want to summarize everything that we said before. Somehow, we said that just like they said, the soul of a Jew has a mind and a heart, seichel u'midas, intellect and emotions. Right? But it also has clothing, which I said was like your interface with the world. How do you interface with the world? With the activities that you do, with the words that you speak, and those same words you use them also to speak to yourself.
Yeah.
So those. Hi, thank you for coming, Nadine.
Sorry, I'm late.
We just started.
It says, how does it go? Worse never than late. I think that's how it said. Yeah. So those are the. So the soul also has clothing. What are the clothing of the soul? The activities, words, and thoughts of Torah. If it does have nothing to do with Torah, the divine soul won't wear it. That's for the animal to wear. Everything has to do with it. So that's its clothing, that's its interface. So this interface, we said, is not just to those words and things, but this interface is directly to God. And therefore, this amazing idea that the clothes of the soul are greater than the soul itself. How is that possible? How can the clothes be greater than the person that wears them? Clothes are just an accessory. So, but once we understand the clothes being an interface, who is the soul interfacing with? Soul's interfacing with God. How does that happen? Because the clothing is Torah, and God are one. And we explained that Torah is God's will and wisdom, and as Maimonides says, God and his wisdom are one. God and his will are one. So one. So now when you have this mitzvah, it comes out that when you have this mitzvah, you have him. So he said, just a minute, how can you have him? The Zohar says, I got Zohar here. The Zohar says that no thought can grasp him. Right? Isn't that brought from the Zohar? It's quoted from the Zohar here. No thought can, that's okay, no, it's not from the Zohar. Leis machshava, no means to understand. No, but here it's brought, so that's a pasuk. No machshava. Before that, we had that the Zohar said the Torah and God are one. Okay, but it's saying that no thought can grasp me. God's thoughts are not our thoughts. So how could you possibly say that in learning Torah you're grasping God, or in doing a mitzvah you're grasping? He's infinite. So we said that where you find God's greatness, there you find His humility descending to lowest places. So I described the professor who is so brilliant that he can explain his ideas to preschool. If you're only a little bit brilliant, you can explain it to graduate students. If you're more brilliant, you can explain to undergrad. And if you can explain it, Dr. Hanukkah was a chemist, and the Rebbe told him that I took classes from Walter Nernst at the University of Berlin. Walter Nernst was a Nobel Prize winning chemist, one of the great chemists of the 20th century. He said the reason he taught a very good class to many graduate students. Why? Because your wages as a professor at the University of Berlin was according to how many students you had. So if you wanted to make money, you didn't teach graduate students, and you tried to make classes that everybody wanted to come to. So therefore, you had very good classes, so you could have more students and make more money. So in America, you had what's his name, Richard Feynman, who was America's greatest scientist, and he also gave lectures that everybody loved to come to, because he could explain big ideas to anybody. So that's what makes a great mind. So here, God is able to take his will and wisdom and bring it down to anybody and to everybody. so that you can grasp him with every part of yourself. And anybody can grasp him, because for one person, it's on this level, another person on that level. Whatever level you're on, there's some level of Torah that you can grasp. When it comes to doing a mitzvah, mitzvahs are equal for everybody. So when a great Kabbalist learns the story of Jacob and Esau, he learns it at a very deep level. And somebody who's not a great Kabbalist, but he has a deep mind, he'll learn it at his level. And somebody else who's just learning it as a story, and a little kid who's learning it like it's his two brothers or something like that. He's imagining a hairy brother and a smooth brother. That's, for him, that's Torah. It's just each person has to learn. If you learn on a lower level, that's your level, and it's not. As long as you learn at your level, that's how God is coming to you at each level. There's an analogy for this. You go out on a night of a full moon, and you look in the ocean, and there's a big reflection of the moon in the ocean. And you look in a little puddle, let's say the swimming pool. There's a smaller reflection of the moon, and the puddle is a smaller reflection of the moon. You have your soda there. You look in the soda cup, and there's a reflection of the moon. And a little drop of water on the table. It's a reflection of the moon. It's exactly the same moon in each reflection. Exactly the same moon, with all of the information there, right? But here it's very big, and here it's very small. So the same thing, that God comes to each individual, and to a great mind, it comes in a very big way. The small mind comes to you, but it's the same God. That doesn't change. So when you explain to a small child the story of God taking the Jews out of Egypt, and you tell the child, with a mighty hand, God struck the Egyptians. What does the kid see? In his mind, it's a big hand coming out of the heavens. That's what he sees. As much as you explain to him, hand doesn't really mean hand. It means, what are you going to say to a kid metaphorically? How do you say that to a 4-year-old? It doesn't really mean a hand, no matter how much you explain. He'll nod his head, but he sees a big hand. In the child's world, that's true. But if he's 10 years old, it's not true anymore.
So if everybody else understands at their level, if I'm studying and I'm not understanding, am I not suitable for that level, or is it just?
It depends. Do you know that you're not understanding?
Yeah,
Oh,
so.
then you're on the right track. The problem is when you learn, you don't realize that you don't understand. I had a teacher told me this. Label Kaplan, who's my Rosh Yeshiva in Seattle. He told me that if you learn the Gemara and everything fits, everything makes perfect sense, for sure you learned it wrong. There's got to be something you did that you feel something's not working over here. Then you know you're on the right track.
Very high level. You think you're not understanding it?
No, it's always got to be a little bit higher than what you're getting. That's the point.
Seems to be.
Yeah.
You never get there.
Yeah. Then you're on the right track. It's when everything fits, you got it all wrong. You got to go back and check.
Yeah, but it's not fun.
No.
I mean, when everything fits, it's boring.
No, it's
I
not.
figured it all out. Come on. Okay, now, so that's how we compared the Torah to a waterfall. Usually we compare Torah to light, but here it's not like light, it's like water. Because light comes here, and you say, light, where are you coming? I'm coming from up there. I don't really belong down here, but I'm shining to you. And if you really want to find the real light, you get closer. The closer you get, the more light you're going to get. But with water's up there, and if you go and see the water says, can you let me get a little lower? You make a hole for the water to come lower. And are you okay now? Is there any lower I can go? It wants to go all the way down. And when it goes, all the water, it leaves its place and comes there. So that's what Torah is about. Torah wants to come all the way down. As low it can go, it can go there. And that's where it's coming to. It wants to be everywhere. That's where it belongs. Okay, now we get to this. So that's why we say that the water is coming down, the Torah is coming down to you, and you're wrapping yourself within it, you're embraced within it, because it's providing you, why do you say, a full body experience, multi-sensory. You're involving every part of yourself in Torah. There are good examples of it. When you give tzedakah, all of you is involved in that because you had to earn this money. So all of your education and skills and all those efforts and all that worrying at night and sweating over it, all that now is going to this mitzvah of tzedakah. So that's...
You could say that about anything you do with your life. You've had to work for it.
One of the mitzvahs that I like for this, we're building a sukkah. And now they have all these prefab sukkahs and everything. But it used to be every year I'd build a new sukkah and I have to go get the wood and cut the wood and get the nails and put everything together and use my creativity for how this sukkah is going to work. And now we got to go through all the back alleys and find the branches and everything and now you just buy everything there and put it together. But it was a full experience, entirely engaged in the experience. And the same thing when you're learning Torah. You need to be fully engaged. I think I told you the story of the student of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir's wife was Bruria, and she herself was very fluent in Torah. He said she had more committed to memory than any sage of her time. So she saw one of her husband's students sitting, because they sat on the ground, and learning, but he's learning quietly. So she came over and gave him a kick in the pants. And he said, "I'm learning, you're disturbing me." He says, "No, you're not learning." She says, "You're forgetting. Because if you learn quietly, you're not putting yourself into it. It has to be in every limb of your body, has to be engaged in learning. And then you'll remember it." Okay. That is beyond heaven. Page 92.
Is that why in the Chabad, when you learn, you kind of sing?
You learn?
So like a lot of my Chabad friends, when they're learning, they kind of sing, and when they talk.
Yeah, that's how everybody does it. I mean, the real way of learning.
Yeah.
Real way of learning is you read out loud.
No, but you're saying
They have like an inflection, and when they
Yeah,
talk.
yeah. You have to have a way of saying it. It has to be out loud.
But it's like a melody.
And davening is supposed to also be out loud. In some of these shuls, it's not that like a morgue, and everybody would everybody just died? What happened? It's supposed to be out loud. You're supposed to be putting yourself into it. The only time to be cool that it's a whisper is Shmon Esrei, the Midah. But otherwise, you're doing something. It's out loud. Same thing with learning.
It may be, if you're talking very loud, you may be disturbing the person.
So he should try to be louder than you, that's all. No, you don't have to be very loud. You're not yelling. But if you're not saying the words out loud, and what kind of a you're going to say that Hashem opens up his hand and feeds every creature, and you go, Hashem opens up his hand and feeds every creature. What kind of davening? It's davening.
Understood.
It's an American thing. It's an American thing to daven quietly, or to learn quietly. It's not the Jewish tradition. It's not the way it's done.
I thought all you need to do is to hear what you say.
Yeah, for Shmon Esrei. For Shmon Esrei. For Amida, you're not supposed to disturb the other people. So you say it just that you can hear. But the rest of davening has to be out loud. I mean, not yelling, but out loud. It's the way it's done. Huh? But learning for sure has to be out loud. With all of you involved. Yeah. So beyond heaven. That is why the sages said, one moment of returning to God and doing good deeds in this world is better than all the life of the world to come. It's in Pirkei Avot, right? Probably. Maybe remember this. Yafa Shachas. It's better, it's more beautiful than all the life of the world to come. Now, that's an amazing statement. Just a minute. Because all the time the sages are saying, if they're in Pirkei Avot as well, this room is just like a waiting room. This world is just like a waiting room to get into the world to come. And we're doing all these. Our reward is not in this world; it's in the world to come. And gather up as many good deeds as you can, and you have enough learning to take it to the world to come. That's what. And here you have this statement in Pirkei Avot that says, "Yeah, but really, here this one moment in this world, the sha'achas could mean an hour, but here it probably means just like you just did it. You're like right now." That's greater than all the life of the world to come. Now, what is all the life of the world to come? You gotta get this right. The world to come here does not mean the world after Mashiach. World to come can mean one of two different. It can mean several different things. There's a world to come, sometimes we mean there's Gan Eden, which is sort of a motel for souls. Souls are there before they come to this world, and after they leave this world, they go there and they're in waiting.
Better in the town.
Yeah, but they're waiting there because it's not the real thing. The real thing is after the times of Mashiach and after the resurrection of the dead, then we have the real thing. That's the real Olam Haba. But there's this Olam Haba. Well, what do we do with these souls in the meantime? Well, they'll go up there. They're going to leave their bodies. You leave your body. You're not restricted by a body anymore. So now you can really understand things, and now you can really absorb things. Well, how much can you absorb? How much can you take in? Well, it depends on your spacesuit. You come down into this world, you get a spacesuit. And then you take it up there, and with the spacesuit that you got down there, you're able to absorb all these great things happening there. What's the spacesuit? The spacesuit is made of all the mitzvahs you did and all the Torah that you learned in this world. That's what you invested yourself in. That's your clothing here. So all those words and all those things that you're going to now be divested of a body, but you're going to have this new interface. Okay, so that could be very good. It could be very not good because you could have a really lousy interface. What you're going to experience is going to be literally hell. But then that gets cleaned up after a while, and every Jew has some mitzvahs, a lot of mitzvahs. So with those, you go to, you're now able to experience a higher spiritual realm. And that's total ecstasy. Even the lowest levels are total ecstasy. Say, there was one of the great sages of the Mishnah, Rabbi Elisha ben Abuya. And he was the Rebbe of Rabbi Meir. And at a certain point, he went sour. And he didn't keep any mitzvahs, everything went totally off.
It's just okay.
Acher, they called him Acher, just the other one. And but Rabbi Meir was able to continue learning from him. Kept on learning from him. So when Elisha ben Abuya died, Rabbi Meir went to the other sages and said, we have to do something for him. They won't let him into Gehenna. He can't go to hell. They couldn't find a hell bad enough for him. Why? Because it's one thing that a person knows a little bit, but nevertheless sins. But this is somebody who really, really knows. He was one of those four who went into Pardes. He learned the secrets of Torah, greater than Rabbi Akiva. And so he knew all this, and nevertheless, he sinned this way. So they don't have a place in hell for him. What are we going to do? So he's stuck. So he said, we have to pray for him. But the sage said, well, if we pray for him, then he goes to hell. Yeah, but after a while of being in hell, he'll get to go to Gan Eden. They said, when he gets to Gan Eden, he's only going to the lowest level of Gan Eden. He's not going to go any higher. So they discussed and finally came to the conclusion that it's best that he go to hell and get judged, and then he'll be able to afterwards go to Gan Eden. At that point, they say the steam started coming up from his grave, and it was smoking and steaming until the days of, I think, Rabbi Yochanan, the late Rabbi Yochanan, the Talmud Rishon, Rabbi Yochanan Nach, which is about 100 years later. And eventually it stopped, and that was when he was finally got to go to the lower Gan Eden. So you can imagine, he's burning in Gehenna for about 100 years.
So what happened to 12 months, man?
That's for regular wicked people, You don't say Kaddish for more than 12 months
For life.
because you don't want to say that your parents were
Sure.
wicked.
For
But for
tzaddikim.
somebody like this, it's was 100 years ago.
Really? Yeah.
So say that all the suffering of Eve, Job, his suffering, if a person would have all that suffering for 70 years, it wouldn't come to the suffering in Gehenna for a
Day.
short day or something. And he's there for 100 years. But it's worth all that. It's worth all that to go to the lowest level of Gan Eden because of the great pleasure of that lowest level of Gan Eden. This is very hard to understand if you've never been to Disneyland in the summer. And you see people standing in line in the heat for 2 hours, in the heat, right? So they can go on a ride that's over just like that.
What goes to Gehenna and to Gan Eden? The soul, right?
Yeah.
Not the person, but who did the sins on earth is the person, not the soul. Right?
When you feel pain, what's feeling the pain? Your body feeling the pain, or you are feeling the pain?
Physical pain or mental?
Any pain, physical pain.
The body.
You're not feeling the pain, only your body. Oh, that's just my body feeling pain. I'm okay. Even when the body is in the ground and it's decaying, that's painful for the soul.
Okay, but the soul like travels to many bodies.
When the cremation is a terrible, terrible pain for the soul. Rotting under the ground is less painful, much, much less painful, but it's still pain for the soul. So it's your soul that feels the pain. The body is just material as things are happening to it. It's you that's feeling the pain. What does the body care, whether it's earth or it's flesh? It's physical matter, all the same. It's all the same for it.
Well, okay, it's not the body that did the sins, but it's the person, right? When there's
So we say when it comes after
that's
why Rabbi Yehuda says we have to have the resurrection of the dead, because the person and the body did the sin together. So they both have to get judged as your soul is within the body, and then they get judged together. But Gan Eden and what Rabbi Elisha ben Avu and Acha was experiencing was, I guess, principally a punishment for the soul.
The soul goes to many bodies, right?
Oh, so after it's gone up, it's got its cleansing, it's gone to its Gan Eden, it goes through that cleansing again. So there's some aspect of this neshama that didn't get its job done. And that aspect of the neshama has to come back again. Or maybe sometimes the whole neshama has to come back. But here the point was that all that suffering was worth it for him to have the lowest level. And that Gan Eden, the neshamas go higher and higher and higher. And each year, if you're okay, they check you. Yeah, you're good. You go up. Like not up to you. It's sort of like that's why they say that public school or any school is like Gan Eden, because there's no meritocracy. Whether you're good or bad, you're just going to go on to the next. As hard as you try, you're just going to go to the next grade, the next grade, the next grade. You can't beat the system. So that's what it is in Gan Eden. Just going to go. It's all pre-programmed. Next year, going to go up. Next year, going up. This soul now can't go, and that's it. You can't change anything. Only place you can change anything is here. Gan Eden. So these souls are going higher and higher each year. So they're going to be.
There's only 7.
There's souls that are going. No. Goes infinite levels. There's all these levels. Lower level Gan Eden, higher level Gan Eden. Each one is level upon level upon level upon level.
Infinite.
Goes on and on and on. So you can imagine, like, you have souls like Avram, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moshe Rabbeinu, they're up there, way up there. Highest level. Each year going higher
There's
and
a story
higher.
about the 7.
Yes, 7 heavens, but that's in general. In each world, there's another 7. So it goes on and on. So, but then a soul will then, at a certain point, have an opportunity to come back into this world to do mitzvahs. And the soul says, for sure, I'll leave all this great ecstasy, but that's worth hundreds of years again for this, to leave this, to come into this world to do a mitzvah. So that's what it's saying. Yafa sha'ach, it's better a moment in this world of tshuva and good deeds than all the life of the world to come. So you said all the time in the world to come. So that's an amazing thought. So how does that work? So basically what we're up against here is okay, let's read it. What is the world to come? It is the experience of enjoying the radiance of God's presence, a pleasure of comprehending divine light. But no created being, even the loftiest, can comprehend more than a mere reflection of God's light. So as high as you have gone, you're still a created being. How much can you get? You can't get the thing itself. You can only get a reflection of it. You're getting something about it, but not it. That's why it's called only the radiance of God's presence. As for God himself and all his glory, no thought of any being can comprehend him at all. That's a quote from the Zohar. But when your soul grasps Torah and its mitzvahs and invests herself in them, then she does grasp God himself, and she invests her being within his, since Torah and God are completely one. That's why the soul will leave the highest place of Gan Eden, the world to come and do a mitzvah here. There you only have a reflection. Here you have the God himself. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about the difference between the experience of something and having the thing itself. This is a big deal because people generally run after the experience.
There's this.
I want to feel it. I want to.
I know you said it, but I just want to validate 2 things back. One is there's 7 heavens, but you're saying there's infinite.
Yeah, the infinite sense of 7 heavens. Yeah, goes higher and higher.
And then the other thing is, I thought that there's no way you could stay on for more than 12 months, and that's really bad.
That's somebody who's bad. But this is talking about some people who go much beyond that. Hi. You finished at 8:30. Sorry. So people are looking for the experience, right? So they want the experience. That's Gan Eden. That's after this, will you get the experience? Which is greater, to have the real thing or the experience? So you could be having, sitting there at your kumsitz, the songs are so nice and everything is going good and it's wonderful and so on, and you feel, oh, this is a spiritual experience. Or you could be schwitzing in a hot kitchen, making a Shabbos meal for your family and for guests. I'm not experiencing any ecstasy here, but in that dough, I'm holding God. Or you could say, well, when I put on tefillin, I don't feel anything.
Action.
But you have him. He's there. That's the difference. So here you have an example of, you can have the king of the land. Right? We don't have kings, but there were times when people have to go to Morocco, and in every home is a big picture of the king. It has to be larger than any other picture. His image is on every bill and every coin. and everything was with the king, because of the king of Morocco. His presence is felt everywhere. And if there's a day where there's a big parade and everybody is there to see horses, the Cadillacs, the whole big show. Now, if you want to approach the king, well, you have to be somebody very special. And even if you're very special, you have to have an appointment. And you prepare for that appointment. And when you come in, you are shivering in your boots, scared, right? Coming in to see the king.
Excuse me, speaking of the king, I'm sorry to bother you, if we can borrow.
No, sorry, we have a shir, we're not interrupting the shir.
Okay, in that case,
Thank
see you
you.
next time.
So, that's the whole law. You don't interrupt learning Torah.
Well, not even the angel of death, right?
So you would need an appointment, and you're walking in there, shivering your boots, and all you get is a few words with the king. That's it. Now the king has a little girl. Anytime she wants, she runs into her father's office and gives him a big hug. He picks her up and gives her a hug. Does she understand what her father is, that he's the king of the land? Does she understand his greatness? What a great king. She doesn't understand. But she has the king in her hands. She has him. I mean, she might have him in her pajamas and he's in his pajamas, but she has the king. So that's the experience in Gan Eden, is all the outward trappings. Experience of doing a mitzvah is holding him himself, like God's little girl holding him himself. Now, so this in the next page, 94, the king's embrace. True, the Torah comes to us dressed in lowly, mundane, physical matters. Don't such garments obscure the divine will and wisdom that they clothe? And they say, but all I'm feeling here is dough in my hand. All I'm feeling here is leather boxes on my arm. And when I'm learning Torah, what am I learning about? Maybe I'm learning about somebody who found a lost object, and the lost object is a purse with coins in it. I don't feel any divine wisdom. I don't feel any, this experience is not blowing me out of the water, discussing coins found in a lost purse in the mud. So we say, the garments are obscuring that which they are clothing. So compare this to embracing a human king. The quality of your closeness and bond with the king is just the same, whether you embrace him as he's dressed in a single garment or dressed in many garments. All that matters is the king himself is inside. So too, when embracing God through the mundane physical matters of Torah and its mitzvahs, they clothe him, right? You're still grabbing him, just that there's all this. But that means you're going to change your focus now. Because if you're learning Torah and you think the Torah is about this purse and this coins, that's like grabbing the clothing and hugging the clothing. Right? If you think this mitzvah of esrog and lulav is about the esrog and lulav, then you lost. You're just grabbing a shoe with nothing inside it. Right? So you have to have first that meditation, that contemplation. That you start off with it. No, this is him inside. I'm not grabbing the clothing. I'm grabbing him. That has to be your intent, clear in your intent. And same is true in reverse. If the king embraces you with his arm, it makes no difference that his arm is clothed within his garments. And that's what God does through his Torah. It says his right arm embraces me. Speaking of the Torah is given from his right arm, representing kindness and water. The Torah comes down to us in this clothing of physical matters through God's kindness, just as water runs freely downward. So the point is that you have to always be focused on this point, that you're grabbing. It's not just a physical thing, not just an activity. There's something inside there, there's God inside there. Without that, mitzvahs can get like a little dull. Last page over here. What have we discovered? It's a summary of the chapter in 3 points. I hope everybody appreciates that we're not summarizing this chapter in 3 points. Because that's like the hardest part of every chapter is summarizing it afterward. 1, your soul, your divine soul has 3 clothes: the verbal thoughts, speech, and actions of Torah and Smith. Remember, talk about verbal thoughts, right? As opposed to intelligence.
This is fucking with that.
No. Verbal thoughts are how you hear the thoughts in your mind.
Oh.
Not the actual intelligence. There's a difference between thoughts and intelligence. Thoughts are verbal. Speech and actions. And that's one thing we learned. Those are the clothes. Secondly, these mitzvah clothes offer the soul something infinitely greater than anything it can attain on its own, even in the highest heaven. In the act of a mitzvah, in the study of Torah, soul embraces God himself, and God embraces that soul. Third thing, don't just do mitzvahs. Invest yourself within them, mind, heart, and soul. That's what we learned at the beginning of the chapter, where we said that you could just do the mitzvah without any feeling. So the mitzvah got done, but you weren't there. You weren't there inside. And one of the things we didn't really get to is that when you invest yourself in something, sort of brought up that I was talking about gain aided. When you invest yourself in something, it's very hard to pull yourself out of it afterwards. So we said that he doesn't use the word behavior anywhere in Tanya. Instead, he talks about investment. So you're not doing things, you're investing yourself in whatever you do. So it gives you a very different perspective of things. So because if you're investing yourself in these words, so you say some words and they go out there and other people repeat those words and other people repeat those words, you're invested inside those words. So you want to be very careful what words you invest yourself in. So if you call it just behavior, he said these things, right? So I said, it's done, it's over with now. But if I invested myself in there and they weren't nice words and they keep on going, every time someone says it, there am I going out in those words. I did an activity, and this created, like, when your mother makes for you a nice food to show you her love, you're eating her love inside that food. She's inside that food that she made. She's invested within it. And when you're thinking thoughts, that's a very deep investment.
So what's the difference again between Chachma and verbal thoughts?
Chachma is just your intelligence, type of intelligence, that which you innately know. Verbal thoughts are the thoughts, the mind chatter that's going on in your brain. Some people don't deny they have.
Conversation.
So I'm saying that each of these things, you have to look at it as a businessman. All of life is a businessman. Where do I want to invest my mind and heart? Chacham B'Yin Das, Chesed Gvura, all those things, your 10 spheres. Where do I want to invest them? Because each one of them is a permanent investment. There's no way to pull back out of that investment. You can't sell it off. The only thing you could do is, if there was a bad investment, you could do tshuva. We'll get to that in chapter 7. You could do tshuva, and then that's not removing, it's just lifting those things up, changing the past in some way.
So this makes sense, and I agree. Like, if you say bad things, it's more likely you're going to do bad things. And if you say good things, you're going to self-actualize and do good things. But what if you say bad things, you think bad things, but then you short circuit it and then you do the good thing? Or you're someone that's righteous in your mind and you say good things, and then when push comes to shove, you actually don't do the good thing or you do the bad thing. Isn't it more important that you actually, at the end of the day, do the good thing, even though you might not have the best thoughts? Versus you have
the best thing is, as soon as you recognize this is a thought I should not be thinking, you say, I don't want to think that thought.
Yeah, but
You take another thought, and if it keeps on coming back to you,
Yeah,
you need
I've been
to do
working
something
on
about it.
that.
Because once every thought has an effect on you. It affects your
Yeah.
emotions, it affects your attitude, and it will come out in behavior at some point. As hard as you try,
Very true.
it's going to come out. You're going to sleep well at night,
Yeah.
So this is greatly
But
lacking.
no one's perfect, though. I guess what I'm saying is, long
you
as
can't
It's not about being perfect.
direct your thoughts.
Yeah.
But you can manage them.
But I find it easier to get to control my actions than it's easier for me to control my actions than my
Right.
thoughts.
You did.
Right.
So like, if I can get 80% of my actions to be good,
I could
But
be
I-
thinking, I know, I could be thinking, I could yell at this guy, get there, and I can act nicely.
Right.
I can hold.
and I'm like, I hate, yeah,
Yeah, but
right,
I
exactly.
won't be, words are more difficult to control. Thoughts are the hardest to control.
Sure.
But the only real change comes from what you're thinking.
So eventually, I really have.
Yeah, so that's where you have to be a master over your thoughts to affect any real change. Otherwise, stay the same person as you started off as, but you don't want. You want to go beyond. Okay, God willing, next week we'll have to bring some dummies so that when they ask for a minion, we can set up one of the dummies. Something like that.
I'm having trouble with it on page 94, the first paragraph. The Torah comes first in lowly, mundane, physical nature.
Which page are you on?
94. The
94.
First paragraph.
Yeah.
And it said the Torah is the garment, right?
No, the Torah kind of
It
comes
comes
dressed
with
to
the
us. The
essence.
Torah, we said, is
Comes
God's
what?
will and wisdom. And it comes dressed to us in 613 mitzvahs.
So what are the garments?
The 613 mitzvahs.
Okay, so
And they
that's
get dressed up in all sorts of things like donkeys and purses with money in them found in the mud.
that's the Torah, right?
Yeah, that's the clothing of the Torah.
Yeah.
The Torah is not the mud or the purse or the coins or the donkey, but
then
that which is invested in that's Torah.
how does those garments obscure the divine will and wisdom?
Because there are people who sit and they think the whole Torah is about the coins and the what do we do with these coins, and as though they're learning some sort of tort law or something. No, it's about divine wisdom. You have to remember that all the time. It's possible to learn Torah and forget about the one who's giving you this Torah. You'll think Torah is about what do I do if I find this, and what happens if somebody damages my property, and what happens if no, Torah is about what does God want? How do I think like God? How do I do what God wants? That's what Torah is. And these are just the garments, the vehicles of expression for those things. But it's not what Torah is.
And how does that relate to the divine soul as three clothes?
Is what? The divine soul what? Oh, three clothes, because the clothing of the divine soul are interfaces with these, right? The divine soul is speaking these words, and this is the meeting place. Like these clothes are attaching to those clothes. The clothes of Torah, right, and the clothes of the soul, the intermesh. The clothes of this divine soul are the words of Torah. The words of Torah are clothing for God's divine will. So in that place of the clothing, that's where the two are meeting. It's a ba lavush bilavushi.
That Yiddish?
No, it's in Shir Shirim Rabbah. It's a magic. God said to Abraham, "Come, dress in my clothes." So it can be understood in many different ways. When we are, the soul dresses itself in God's clothes because the Torah is dressed in these clothes of these mitzvahs. So when we are doing mitzvahs, we're dressing within God's clothes, and He's within them. So it's hard to visualize. But our clothes are the Torah mitzvahs, and the clothes of His wisdom is the Torah mitzvahs. Oh, we're in the same clothes. So therefore, we're grasping each other. That's the idea. I hope it's beginning to make some sense. We'll do chapter 5 next week. God willing is an amazing chapter. But this is so much to think about with this.
Yeah.
So much. Thank you, everybody, for coming. All the people far away in Alabama, everywhere else. God willing, see you next week. Thank you for being here.
Oh, remember-
Thank you.